It's not the government's policy to discriminate between the districts on development, a statement from the president.
Mr. Investor pledges to park $1 billion in Sri Lanka to defend the rupee, a revelation from the finance minister.
Authorities arrest criminal gang in Ranala on charges of attempting to murder members of a rival gang.
Opposition raises questions in Parliament on the death of a youth in Ambalipitiya.
පහළට වැටෙන දුටු බව සනාථ කිරීමට ඇසින් දුටු සිවිල් පුද්ගලයෙකු සාක්ෂි දරනු ලබයි.
තට්ටු තුනකින් වීදුරු කඩාගෙන පයින්න ඒ තරණ ස්පයිඩර්මෑන් නෙවෙයි.
Hello, good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on MTV and Shakti TV. Good evening, Stephanie.
A very good evening to you, Nadeem, and a very good evening to all our viewers. We are coming to you live from the News First newsroom with nothing but the news that matters. Let's start off with a look at your top story tonight. President Maithripala Sirisena attended a number of events in Polonnaruwa today.
A branch of a state bank was declared open in Valikanda in a bid to make banking more easy for the people in Polonnaruwa. Speaking at the event, President Maithripala Sirisena said that the government's policy is not to have varied development for different districts. Yesterday, speaking to the media, farmers from Valikanda has said that fertilizer had not been given to them. We inquired into this. There is no scarcity of fertilizer in the country. However, there are shortcomings in fertilizer distribution in the country. I have given instructions to the officials to immediately dispatch fertilizer to those respective areas and resolve the issue. Before the presidential election, hundreds of thousands of metric tons of rice was imported to the country. These stocks are still in the country and cannot be consumed. Investigations are taking place. Hundreds of thousands of metric tons of rice imported through Satosa have not been distributed by their branches. The people have not been given this benefit. They have given it to the private sector in an unwarranted manner. The president was also present at an event held for the opening of a state bank branch at Aranagangwila. President Sirisena also presided over the Pibidemu Polonnaruwa event that took place today to distribute school equipment to children in the Polonnaruwa district. Office equipment and other material were presented to the agrarian organizations in the Mahaveli B zone today.
On to news from Parliament. The Local Government Elections Amendment Bill was presented to Parliament today. The amendment bill is aimed at boosting female representation in local government bodies.
The amendments propose increasing the number of local government representatives by a third of the current number. The increment allows accepted political parties and independent groups to nominate a higher number of female candidates. According to the draft bill, political parties and groups need to forward 2 nomination papers when selecting female candidates. Currently, there are 4,486 members of local government bodies. The amendment will add another 1,495 members to the system. Meanwhile, the bill on registering Theravada Bhikkhu symposiums and the bill on microfinance were also presented in Parliament today.
Formulation of a new constitution was taken up for debate in Parliament today.
Even 7 decades after independence, we have failed to evolve into a single Sri Lankan nation. This country has had the unfortunate experience of being ruled under constitutions which did not have the consent or the consent of all its people. If all the peoples in this country are to evolve into a nation, into a single nation, the Sri Lankan nation, this grave error needs to be corrected. And it is in this background that there is no longer a demand for a separate state, and it is also in this background that we are seeking to resolve the national issue within the framework of a united and undivided and indivisible Sri Lanka. It is within this framework that we are looking at a new constitution that will also resolve the national question. I want to make a special appeal to the former president, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa. He has the stature of a national leader and he supported his national endeavour. It is important. The country, all its people and the nation need his support. It will be my submission, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that he needs to place the interests and well-being of the country before anything else and positively contribute to this initiative. Let us all rise to the stature required of us at this crucial moment in this country's history.
His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena presented the manifesto at the presidential election. The main point in this document was the abolition of the executive presidency. Now the 19th Amendment has been adopted in line with the Supreme Court's determination. Institutions that uphold rule of law have been established. If we are to go beyond that, then it is the image of the executive presidency that must be changed. When changing the image of the executive presidency in the constitution, it is imperative that we change the electoral system as well. We must not forget the mandate that we have received. According to the mandate we have received, our primary responsibility is to change the image of the executive presidency and the constitution and electoral system. This is why we have joined the coalition government.
We are seeing a political movement where when they were unable to take the seat of the executive, they used various strategies to seat someone else there, and when that did not work, they came to the stance that the executive presidency must be abolished. This process must be transformed into one which gives fair representation to all parties and to all MPs. We are in agreement with this, and we think that this proposal should be amended accordingly. If they do not agree to these amendments, there is another system where the government drafts a constitution and presents it to Parliament, and we express our views and ideas on it. We cannot become part of a structure where we cannot fairly put forward our views and ideas and then take the responsibility for it and be bound by it. If it is a process where the government suppresses everything, we are not prepared to support it.
A notable feature of this government of good governance is that we have put forward a proposal and several amendments have been proposed for it. We will consider all of this and prepare the proposal in a manner that represents everyone's ideas, and we must establish a procedure and draft a constitution that the absolute majority is in agreement with. If anyone is saying that we are attempting to bulldoze this using our power, or that we are trying to present this as a bill and have it adopted, it must be noted that we do not need to do that. We have experiences in our history and we must use these experiences to establish a procedure and a dialogue to create consensus among the absolute majority, a national consensus.
Convening a media briefing today, the United National Party also commented on constitutional reform.
The stance of the government is that we are formulating this constitution under a unitary government. Not just that, the Tamil National Alliance has said that they will not ask for a separate government. Therefore, we now have a new opportunity. The main problem faced in our country is the lack of trust. That is why we have to face many problems and are not able to solve these issues. We came to several agreements and decisions within a span of 10 to 12 months, leaving aside our personal differences. We are amending the constitution just as the constitution in 1978 was amended to solve the issues faced at that time by the country. However, today, the situation the world over has changed. Therefore, in order to keep up with the change, we are amending the constitution in order to lay the foundation.
Minister of Housing and Construction Sajid Premadasa, speaking in Tissa Maharama, commented on proposed constitutional reforms.
A public meeting took place in Udaskama Tissa Maharama under the auspices of Minister Sajid Premadasa. The primary reason for the most serious issue in the country is the executive presidency. Many who attempted to win the presidential election said various things. They said that the executive presidency will be abolished once they are elected. A wonderful sentence where action was limited to mere words. The president had decided not to limit his promises to mere words and create a historical constitution for the people of this country.
A media briefing took place in Colombo to comment on constitutional reforms.
Are we going beyond the 13th Amendment? Indeed. Are we going to the full implementation of the 13th Amendment? How far beyond it are we going to go? The government of the day had a manifesto pledge in January of last year which said maximum devolution within a unitary state. We look forward to seeing as to what that actually entails, whether it does really meet the test of meeting the grievances and aspirations of the people of our country. I think the function, the purpose of the Citizens' Initiative for Constitutional Reform, therefore, will be going out to the people and making the case for a new constitution. Our active, proactive participation in the constitution-making process will be further evidence that we are full-fledged citizens in a functioning democracy.
Still in local news, the All Ceylon Bakery Owners Association has announced that the price of a loaf of bread will be increased by ₹1 with effect from midnight tomorrow. Chairman of the association, N.K. Jayawardena, said that the decision was reached by its members this evening.
Back to some news from Parliament. The controversy in Amblypitiya was also brought up in Parliament today.
Over the past, we witnessed how persons were killed when they were escorted to show hidden weapons and when they were to be arrested. This was a culture. The allegations made by the locals against the police over this death must be taken into consideration. We recall how commissions were established over previous deaths. When we called for those commission reports to be tabled, they were not. What investigations will the government conduct over this incident? What is the progress of the investigation? How is a senior police officer involved in this? What action will be taken against persons involved in this incident? Will compensation be paid to the deceased and the injured? What action will be taken to prevent such incidents from taking place in the future?
Contradicting views have been raised from the side of the Amblypitiya police and from the victims and the injured party. The victims' party had said that the reason for the death is that the police officers had pushed the victim off the third floor of the house. However, the police say that the victim had attempted to flee by breaking through the glass and had fallen off the building. Police said that they did not push the victim off the building. There isn't sufficient evidence to prove that the police had pushed him off the building. A civilian eyewitness has said that he saw the victim fall off the building. The magistrate is yet to conduct an investigation to determine whether this was murder. We cannot make any assumption at this time and the investigations are continuing.
ගැටුම සම්බන්ධයෙන් වැඩිදුර පරීක්ෂණ කටයුතු සිදු කරමින් පවතී.
අපේ ජනවහරේ තියෙනවා බඩුත් හාමුදුරුවන්ගේ නඩුත් හාමුදුරුවන්ගේ කියලා. එවැනි ප්‍රකාශයක්.
What you mentioned is something similar to that. That individual is not Spider-Man to jump off the third floor by breaking through the glass. He was an ordinary youth. What is this you are saying? This is a report prepared by the police to protect them. The magistrate is yet to investigate whether this was a murder. I wonder how the burial was performed.
මා දන්නේ මේක කොහොමද භූමිදාන කරේ කියලා.
These statements are being investigated. The judiciary is present. We have appointed a team to conduct investigations. We will compile a fair and a just report and present it to you.
Just as it was mentioned on the headlines tonight, 3 persons were arrested with a firearm in Ranala for attempting to kill members of a rival gang.
Police say that the suspects are being interrogated under detention orders obtained for 48 hours.
The suspects were arrested in the Shanta Lokagam area in Ranala for their involvement in the attempted murder of 2 persons on the 17th of December. Police discovered a T-56 rifle and live ammunition in the possession of the suspects at the time of their arrest. A police investigation is underway to determine as to whether these suspects were en route to commit a crime at the time of their arrest. The T-56 rifle that was discovered had been modified in a manner that was easy to carry.
කපලා කොට කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ පොඩි බෑග් එකක දාගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් විදිහට මේකනම් සූක්ෂමව හදලා තියෙනවා. මේක කරන්න පුළුවන් සාමාන්‍ය ලංකාවේ අපි හදන්න පුළුවන් කියලා විතරයි.
පොලිසිය පවසන්නේ අත්අඩංගුවටපත් තිදෙනා.
Police said that suspects arrested today are members of a gang who have a dispute with a rival gang for over a period of time. Police said that the shooting of Ranale Sunil alias Aruna Udayanta Patirana at the Kadwela magistrate premises on the 25th of September last year was also a result of this gang rivalry. Police say that Chaminda Sandamal, who was arrested on the day following the shooting, is a member of the gang led by Nalin Chaturanga alias Aturugiriye Ladia. These two gangs comprise of members who are involved in crimes that can be classified as serious in nature. A dispute that arose several years ago in Alviswata in Kadwela had grown into this dangerous rivalry between two dangerous gangs. Aranudayanta Patirana continues to remain in remand custody.
There are two criminal gangs. Samyang alias Udayanta Patiran is a member of one gang. The other is led by Nalin Chaturanga alias Ladia. The three suspects who were arrested yesterday are members of the gang of Samyang. The suspect named Samyang or Udayanta Patiran remains in remand custody. We have received information that he is calling the shots while in prison. We need a program to address this. Former Supreme Court Judge Sarat Deabru, who was charged with sexual assault, was released on bail today when the case pertaining to this matter was taken up before the Colombo High Court.
Colombo High Court Judge Preeti Padman Surasena ordered that Sarat Deabru be released on a cash bail of 100,000 rupees and a surety bail of 200,000 rupees. The court ordered that the case be taken up for hearing again on the 23rd of May. The former Supreme Court judge pleaded not guilty to the charge filed against him.
He provided statement for 3 hours. I was present as well. He provided the addresses, contact numbers of the witnesses. The police did not take those into their investigation. That is how the indictment was filed. I say it is illegal.
After being granted bail, the former justice left the court complex without signing the respective documents and returned to court once again to sign them.
Have we forgotten?
Several law enforcement agencies conduct investigations into Sajin Vaskunawardena, an unlicensed elephant calf worth 10 million rupees found at the former MP's residence. Failure to make payments due to the government with regard to civil aviation operations of the aviation company allegedly owned by Sajin Vaskunawardena. Alleged financial irregularities at the flight school said to be owned by Sajin Vaskunawardena. Misuse of 22 vehicles belonging to the Presidential Secretariat. These are just a few of the allegations. Sajin Vaskunawardena was summoned to the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption on several occasions. The Commission suspended the former MP's passport for 3 months on the 22nd of January 2015. Sajin Vaskunawardena was arrested and remanded for the misuse of vehicles belonging to the Presidential Secretariat. He was granted bail on the 23rd of August last year by the Colombo High Court.
Sajin
Vaskunawardena, who is now a state's witness, has been provided STF security and vehicles. We ask whether this is what was promised to the people of the country. What was said is that the money that was stolen from them would be returned. It does not seem that this is taking place. In the lapse of 1 year, this group is doing things that are on par with what the previous family did. The law needs to be enforced with regard to public property that was stolen, and the faith of the people that the law will be enforced needs to be re-established.
Have we forgotten?
Tonight on our investigative journalism segment Action TV, our focus is on problems plaguing the secondary education sector in Sri Lanka. The Ministry of Education announced at a media briefing held today that the new cut-off marks for the upcoming Grade 5 scholarship examination would be published in the near future. The ministry has been made to decide on new cut-off marks as a result of the decision to reduce the predetermined cut-off mark for Royal College Colombo by 1 mark. We can only determine the final cut-off marks in the way in which students will be changed following a complete examination. We have been looking at it over the past few days. That's right. Once we have considered all the facts, we will have to take a policy decision.
In comparison to the 40 students who were selected for Royal College, and we will send everyone else based on the criteria that determine the cut-off marks.
The ministry also confirmed today that disciplinary measures had been taken with regard to the principal of Royal College Colombo.
We have informed the principal that he has been transferred to the ministry effective immediately.
The minister also reiterated before the media today that a swift investigation would be conducted into activities at Anand College Colombo in the matter of enrolling students for grade 1 this year. Yesterday, officials of the Auditor General's Department visited Anand College Colombo and took over all documentation pertaining to the enrolling of grade 1 students to conduct their own investigation. On the 5th of this month, Action TV pointed out that there were disparities in the final list of students to be enrolled at Anand College and the electoral register.
I must say one thing. We must stop this system. In order to stop this, we will launch an investigation tomorrow. We will call for a recommendation from the Auditor General, and if there is wrongful action, then we will take action against the principal.
Another group of persons were recruited to the public service today.
3,000 persons were appointed as economic development officers at an event held at Temple Trees. The appointments were made under the government's 1 million job opportunities program.
We decided through the budget to convert the current pension system to a contributory pension system. By this, it does not mean that the pension will be abolished. You will receive the pension according to a new mechanism. Parties that are against the program carried out by the government are saying that this government is going to abolish the state sector and that we are going to curtail the government sector. But I say this as the Minister of Public Administration. We have enrolled 7,000 individuals for the state sector during the last 3 months alone. The Establishment's code is outdated. This should be changed in the future. The Monetary Act also needs to be amended. What needs to be done when these individuals leave is mentioned in the Establishment's code. Governments come into power and they leave. I would like to state that enacting the policy of the government that is in power, even though governments come and go, should be the responsibility of the 3,000 individuals who are in this hall.
No one knew about this event that was organized by the minister. If this was done during the previous government, this will be announced from a week prior to the event. Since President Maithripala Sirisena has surpassed all of that and has created a change in the country, I am happy that an event that would have been done with an unwanted expenditure was done in this manner here.
Finance Minister Ravi Karnanayake has said an unidentified investors promised to park $1 billion in dollar deposits in Sri Lanka to help defend the value of the rupee.
That's right. Reuters reported that Karnanayake had declined to reveal the identity of this investor.
Minister Karnanayake had told Reuters that the investor was Belgian and was working with a Sri Lankan partner. The investor has promised to transfer the money in 2 equal tranches from banks in Brussels and Luxembourg. According to Reuters, the deposits, which pay an interest rate of 2%, are part of the Finance Ministry's plans to raise $3 billion to $4 billion to shore up reserves and defend the rupee.
President of the Sri Lanka Vehicle Importers Association, Indika Sampath Melchige, says that the import tax concessions announced by the government will not apply to vehicle importers. He said that the finance minister had stated that only vehicle imports by individuals would be eligible for the concession.
Tax amendments proposed to the 2016 budget have caused prices of electric cars to spike by about 2.5 million rupees and the prices of vans to increase by about 3.5 million rupees. However, in the face of complaints received, the cabinet decided to allow individuals who had open letters of credit before the tax amendments were proposed to import vehicles subject to previous taxes. Nevertheless, as a result of the Finance Ministry failing to communicate this to Sri Lanka Customs, importers and consumers are facing difficulties in securing the release of vehicles currently at the harbour. Furthermore, this has caused a backlog at the harbour and importers are being made to pay surcharges. Last Wednesday, Minister S.B. Dissanayake announced that the concession would be extended to vehicle importers and that they would be released for the obligation to pay surcharges.
Cabinet has decided to give concessions and tax relief only to individuals importing vehicles. As permanent importers, we are facing a desperate situation where our vehicles have been sitting there for 3 to 4 weeks. It costs 50 to 60,000 rupees because we do not get the tax relief and we have to pay for the vehicles being parked in the harbour's warehouses. We are in a desperate situation because we have to pay the new taxes.
Well, that's a wrap of Primetime News at 9. I'm Stephanie Lazarus.
And I'm Nadim Majid. Just a reminder, you can keep up to date with all of the stories we're following here at News First by visiting our website Newsfirst.lk. Good night and good luck.